Hello again, I am Jim Bob and welcome back to Lone Oak Farm. Just making a bit of a pig's ear, a little bit of a mess of trying to pick up this pallet of wool here, as you can see. And I need to get a wriggle on because we are starting to run out of time. There we go. Right, so now that that's turned back up again, let's get this loaded onto the back of our trailer behind us. The rest of the pallets are already loaded. We have until 9 AM to get all of this wool sold before the price changes and the great demand stops. It did, as predicted, take a little bit of a bump at midnight, although disappointingly not as big a bump as I was hoping. It went up from about 10.6 to about 10.8. And hasn't moved since the very early hours of the morning, so a little disappointed. I thought the price would go higher than it has done, but even so, at 10,800 and change, it's still a price that is going to get us around, somewhere between 120 and 130,000 for that trailer of 6 pallets of wool, which is a massive amount of cash for just 6 pallets. Gotta love getting a great demand to boost the price a little bit on the day when they're already going to be at their best possible price all year. It's just, you know, the perfect storm of when to sell. So let's get this round the corner and down the road to Green Oak Wool. There we go, and as I say, a little disappointed that the price only went up by a couple of hundred at midnight. As expected, it did get that little price bump. Today is the predicted best day to sell the wool, and as such we did get that little bump in price, but it was in the end just a little bump. As I say, only around $200 extra. So it all counts, it all adds up, and it's possible that the price may increase as the day goes on. Once the great demand is finished, I get the feeling we're still on a low level price as a result of it being redlined yesterday. The prediction for today has got this now, because of the great demand, over 14,000, which just isn't going to happen. But I do think that if we'd maybe caught the price at a green price and then had the great demand on top of that, we could at least have maybe hit 12. So there we go, clear my throat a bit. So yeah, we're all set to make, as I say, between 120 and 130,000 for this trailer, which is a fairly substantial amount of cash for just 6 pallets of wool. It's going to be a very, very nice little payday. So let's get the trailer lined up as best we can. Take it wide to avoid, well actually no, I don't need to avoid the cell box before I drive into it, because we have a great demand, so it all goes through at the same price regardless, but it's just good practice, I think. So there we go, the wool is being sold. You can see pallets starting to disappear block by block, and each pallet is worth double the official price that is shown, because, you know, the price is per 1,000 litres. And you can see there, 10,837 is the price. We get double that per pallet because each pallet is 2,000 litres. So that's, what, 21,500 per pallet, and a bit of change on top of that as well. Let's see just how much we actually get. I think somewhere around 126, 127,000, maybe a touch more than that. Oh, look at that, $130,046. That's not too shabby at all. That's a very, very nice price. I'm very pleased with that. That's That's a lovely little bit of extra cash that we weren't necessarily planning to earn that much today, but very, very nice. Very pleased with that indeed. That great demand couldn't really have come at a better time. It gave us this, it gave us the best possible outcome on the best possible day to sell our wool. So perfectly timed in that respect. It's just a shame we didn't have more than 6 pallets of wool. We could have really cleaned up. But as it is, there we go. With very little work, we've pushed our finances up to 300,000 this morning, just by selling off some wool. So an excellent way to start the day. So in terms of the rest of the day, what still needs to be done? Well, you can see we're driving past now the fields that we sprayed yesterday with our brand new horse lead. And then once the camera stopped rolling, I also did go ahead and spray out field 43 just over there, the other side of our grass field as well. That's that was the second wheat field that hadn't been done up to that point. So those fields are all now sprayed. In terms of fields that have a growing crop on them, we still need to spray fields 53 and 54. They are 2 beet fields. So we'll get those done today. And we also need to do some seeding as well. So we have fields 32/33 and then fields 34, plus fields 5 and 6 that all need to be planted with corn today. So we're going to get that done. And beyond that, I don't think there's anything else we... Oh yes, we also need to weed field 24 as well. So the boys are actually fitting skinny wheels to the Optum inside the workshop at the moment. Now that we're back, we can raise the shutters back up again. We're going to get our Magnum up and running first of all. So we need to go grab the seeder. That's cleaned and put away after its use yesterday. Let's make our way through here. And we'll do what we did when we did our seeding and our not our seeding, sorry, our ploughing and our cultivating. We'll set it so that the worker will hopefully transition across from field 32/33 onto 34, or vice versa, from 34 to the other 2 fields, so that we can, just send the worker and move off and get another job done at the same time, without having to constantly sort of head back over here. Let's get the seeder topped up. There we go. Oh, look at that. The price has dropped to 8893. It's going up, look. So, in a way, maybe the great demand didn't quite come at the right time. That price is going up now a little bit. But I'm still very happy. Actually, it's going up quite quickly. I'm still very happy with the price we got. We sold all 6 pallets for 130 grand. That's great. So, yeah, we're going to seed these 2 fields here. These are going to be cornfields, and then we're also going to seed fields 5 and 6 up here as well, so that we've got some corn for chaffing. These are the fields that we planted our sunflowers on yesterday. These 2 fields here, 53 and 54, these will be sprayed later today with the leab. And then, of course, we also need to weed field 24 here as well, to make sure that that is fully fertilised, ready for mowing, which will start from tomorrow. So, still got a decent sized list of jobs that need to be done. Thought we had brown spots in the crop for a second then, potential areas that were damaged. It just looks a bit strange. Baseline texture showing through, perhaps. Not quite sure why we get those brown streaks in the field like that. There we go. So let's drop this down. And off we go. So, as I said, as before, what we're going to do is we're going to do borders along these field edges here, and then we'll come back up the other side, do borders along those edges, and then set the worker loose to run along this edge just here, and then run all the way down across, get to the gap between the fields, hopefully transition automatically across to the next field, and then from there carry on and do 32/33, and that way hopefully everything goes right. You know, it'll all be planted in one go. We won't have to worry about, you know, coming back to make sure that he hasn't missed bits and stuff like that. We may possibly have to refill the seeder, but I think we should hopefully just about have enough seed. It's going to be close, I think. And then we can go off and we can do our weeding while we're waiting, or while the worker is busy doing that. Also, two interesting and important pieces of gaming news came out today, and obviously I do record my episodes a little in advance, usually only by a day or two, sometimes a couple of days, you know, a few days in advance, depending on whether I'm trying to knock out a block of recording or not. And there were two very important bits of information that came out into the world gaming-wise today. The first one is for Farming Simulator 19 PS4 players. Finally, in the United States, a date has been confirmed when you can actually pre-order the game. I've been inundated with people asking me, why can't I pre-order the game on the US PlayStation Store? To which I've always said, I don't know. You know, it's been available now for a few weeks on the UK store. It's been available for quite some time on the various Xbox stores. And I'm not quite sure why there's been such a long delay in that becoming available to, you know, to pre-order on the North American PSN, but that has now finally dropped, you know, in terms of the date. From October 23rd onwards, you will be able to pre-order a copy of Farming Simulator 19 for PS4 users in North America. So you'll have about a month where you can pre-order the game. Make sure you get those pre-order bonuses, which have been confirmed for PlayStation and console in some respects as well. The console pre-order bonus is the Mahindra sort of little drivable utility vehicle. The PC version, the deluxe PC version, like the collector's edition, comes with a JCB. Not a JCB, sorry, a John Deere Gator. This is the Mahindra kind of variant of that. You know, so it's different brand, different company, but the same. It's essentially the same machine, just or a different, you know, a similar machine. Essentially, that's confirmed for all console users. What isn't going to be available for Xbox users and will be an exclusive to PlayStation 4 is the Blue Power New Holland T6. That's going to be a PlayStation exclusive. Now, I'm not 100% certain if that will be available to everybody or only to those who pre-order. It hasn't actually stated it as a pre-order bonus, so I get the feeling that, like the Blue Power T7 from Farming Sim 17, that should be available to everybody. But, you know, do check the game descriptions when the pre-order pops up. Obviously, we can't get 100% confirmation on that unless someone from Giants gives us official confirmation. But it is listed in the description of the game when you go to pre-order it, at least it is here on the UK, that the New Holland Blue Power T6 will be a PlayStation 4 exclusive. So that's something that, obviously, we got the Blue Power T7 for Farming Sim 17. Xbox users didn't get that. There will be a Blue Power T6 for Farming Sim 19, that again will be PS4 exclusive. Sorry, Xbox guys, you won't have a copy of that. So that's the first big bit of news, and the second big bit of news that also came out today as well is that PlayStation users will finally in 2019 be able to choose their usernames, or change their usernames, as I should say. Now, this is something that's been requested by a lot of people since the network first went live around 12 years ago. A lot of people kind of chose random or silly nicknames, or quite immature nicknames, as their user online ID. and have, you know, grown up to regret it. I mean, I've been reasonably happy with my username. I don't regret the choice that I went with, but I probably will change mine just to tie it in with the channel a little bit, or a little bit more anyway. So that change is going to be rolled out in early 2019. It's going to go into testing pretty much straight away, and that testing period I think will run until the sort of end of November. And that'll be sort of anyone who's signed up previously to do sort of beta testing for system upgrades, you know, like new operating systems. Anyone who's signed up for that program before, I think, will be invited to try out the name change thing. Now, there are going to be some kind of pros and cons to it. The pro, obviously, is that finally you'll be able to change your username. So if you have had one of those usernames that you are utterly embarrassed about now, that you thought was brilliant and hilarious and cool when you were younger, you will be able to change it without losing your games, which is the big thing. You know, obviously if you've made a digital purchase, then it's tied to that account, and we've had the option to just make a new account, but you don't get to transfer your games across, you know, any purchases that you've made, your trophies, all that kind of stuff. Now we'll be able to kind of do that, essentially, by changing our name. However, it'll only work 100% with any game released, I think, after the 1st of April this year. So anything after that point is going to work 100%. Anything before that may potentially not recognise your new username. So it may cause a few issues with the game. Not entirely sure, need more detail from that from Sony, and I'm sure that information will be forthcoming in the not too distant future, especially as it's going through the testing period. The first name change will be free. Subsequent name changes will be $10 a pop. They've only given a price so far that I've seen in you know, in US and Canadian dollars, which is $10. Although if you're a subscriber to PlayStation Plus, then you will get that for $5. And it looks as though you'll be able to change as many times as you want, but, you know, as long as you pay that fee every time after the first name change. So that'll be interesting to see how many people suddenly start changing their usernames. I'll be watching my friends list in 2019 to see whose name suddenly changes, and I'm sure other people will be watching theirs to see. You know, they'll wake up one morning, look at their friends list, and go, "Who the hell are all these people?" Everyone's going to be able to have that ability in 2019. We just don't know exactly when. Just early 2019 at the moment is all that they've announced. But a long time coming. That, as I say, since the network went live 12 years ago, people have been asking for that service, and I think Xbox has had that now for a very long time. Again, with a fee involved, Sony are now finally able to actually bring that in, although there will be some caveats, and we will have to wait for more details to be made, you know, fully available to everybody to understand exactly what the ramifications are of potential problems. So I've kind of rambled on a little bit, and we've used a bit of time already, so I'm going to scoot ahead now that we've got this up and running. Let me jump out. I'm going to run back to the farm, grab the Optum, and then we'll take the weeder over to field 24. We'll start weeding over there while our worker is seeding over here, and I'll catch up with you in a little bit. Well, it's a little early, but there we go. We have a great demand for sugar beets. That'll be long finished before we've even got to stage 2 on our growth, I think. Well, I didn't actually see how long it was. I didn't bother looking. But yeah, that'll change the price landscape a little bit for this year compared to the predicted models, which will be factoring in last year's great demands. but it's completely the wrong time of year for us. It has no bearing on the price we can potentially achieve this winter. So never mind, it is what it is. Made some really big progress on this field so far, down to this little strip on this section, and then we've got the kind of the fiddly awkward bit around there. But just looking around, I love this time of year when we see these huge great big tranches of yellow across the map, and then the darker greens of the various different crops coming through like this. Obviously these are winter crops that have been planted last year and have grown to this stage simply because they started growing at the end of autumn last year. But I love to see these winter crops coming through like this. They just add so much colour to the map. And I love to see these big yellow fields and these big green fields just like this as they're growing in the distance. It just looks really cool, I think. I love that little touch. There we go. So we've got more work to do over here yet, as you can see. Our seeder did do the transition across from 34 onto 33/32 as expected. He should just about have enough seed to finish that field, although it's going to be touch and go. Regardless of whether we need to refill the seeder to finish that field or not, we need to refill anyway, so that we can bring the seed up and then do fields 5 and 6. We'll get those planted, get this grass weeding finished off, and from there we will start doing some spraying. And beyond that, I'm not too sure what else I need to get done today. Maybe that'll be it. Could be. I have to wait and see. I need to see if there's any other jobs that I need to do. We could also start making inquiries into pricing up our beet equipment, figuring out just how much money we're going to need. I've decided we are going to go with Holmer. I could have gone with Roper, but if I was going to use the full-sized harvester, then I probably would have gone with Roper. But because we're using a mod, to get the smaller version, either the Panther or the smaller Pterodos, I figured we may as well go with Holmer, because then I can run the beet auger with a Holmer Terra variant as well. So I need to figure out exactly how many slots that's going to take up. Training out some of our equipment did free up quite a few slots. We have they'd spent a chunk of those by buying the Lieb. So we have a little over 100 slots, I think. Let's just jump in here and have a quick look. We've got 115 slots left. So I need to have enough slots for the Pterodos, which is going to be a mod, so that's going to take up quite a few. Plus I'm also going to need space to take up a Terra variant, potentially. And also maybe even a Terra Felis on top of that as well. And figure out the expense of all of that. It's going to be quite pricey. But it'll give me a nice big kind of chunk of, an idea of what kind of, cash total I need to raise by autumn when we come to harvest those sugar beets. And you can see our helper has just finished work. We've run out of seed in the tank, so it doesn't look as though we're quite finished. We'll get that refilled, and then we'll drag that up to fields 5 and 6 and get those seeded once 32/33 is finished. Helper D has finished their tasks. He's finished weeding that little patch. He's obviously got stuck. We'll have to manually finish that off somewhere. As you can see, we did get most of this done. There's 2 more passes after the one that we're currently on here, and then this field is finished. So these jobs are knocking themselves out pretty quickly here, which is good to see. Takes a little bit of the pressure off us. Now I have realised that one of the things we're going to need to build is a beet storage facility, because we're going to end up with a lot of beets, and it's unlikely we'll be able to sell them as soon as they're harvested. We'll probably have to hang on to them for at least a couple of days, and I don't want to just leave them in a big pile on the ground. So we need to build a beet storage shed. Now there is one that I'm thinking of in particular. I haven't used it for quite some time actually, but I think that might be what we do. The other option is to go with the one that I generally do tend to use, and I'll need multiple versions of that because it just doesn't have a massive capacity in comparison to the other one. So I need to have a think about those, and also where I'm going to put them, and I may well end up using the bottom half of the field that we have over there by our combine shed. Can't really see it at the moment because of the slope of the hill, but back over there near where the combine shed is, we've got all that open space over there. I may well sort of use some of that land over there to place our storage facility. The other option is to actually build them near the farm itself, which is something else I might do, and that keeps all of our product, you know, close at hand. There's no sort of long trips or you know trips of some description to go and collect the product. I don't know, because you know, if we have it over there, then it's near the well, over there by the farm. You can just see the silos there in the distance. If we have it over there, then it's near the crop, so it's near the farm, so it's near the trucks. If we have it over there, it's kind of on the way towards Hollister, so it's 50-50 as to which is going to be the better location. I think it depends on which mod I go with and how much space I'm going to need. But I will have a ponder about that, and we'll get that construction started in the next few days, I think. And of course we get a thin strip that needs to be done once the main bulk of the seeding is done. It always seems to happen, doesn't it? Regardless of what equipment we use, we always seem to end up with a very thin strip left over. So almost done here, as you can see. There we go. So let's get this over to fields 5 and 6. Start seeding our corn over there. Let's make our way out this way. And we are getting closer and closer to the release of Farming Sim 19. We're getting more and more information as well in terms of the fact sheets that are coming out and the updated equipment roster on the Farming Simulator website as well. So there's a lot more information in terms of what's going to be in the game now, equipment-wise, compared to where we were just a couple of weeks ago. A lot more than just we've been told in the fact sheets. There's a lot of other new stuff that we've seen in there as well. So really looking forward to getting my hands on that and trying out the new stuff, trying out some of the new features, the new gameplay. We had a new dev blog just a couple of days ago as well about, well, yesterday as I'm recording this, about character customization. It's great that it's being added in, and a little bit more detail than, you know, just changing the colour of our shirts, which is what we currently have. It's still pretty basic. It's still a bit limited, you know, but you know, it's good that it's being improved upon. Hopefully, we might see some real improvements partway through the game's life. Maybe we'll get a patch which will add in additional character customization options. Maybe, you know, better hairstyle choices and beard choices and things like that. Because it doesn't look as though facial hair will be included in the game, which bums me out. Because I wanted my farm to have a beard like me. I've seen quite a few people actually moaning about the lack of beards, but yeah, I mean it's a step in the right direction. And when you look at, you know, other games that do offer full sort of character customization, it is very basic. But it's an improvement on what we have right now. It's a step in the right direction, and who knows? Maybe we'll get lucky and we'll get an increased selection of choices as the game progresses, either before launch or post-launch with an update patch. You never know. I do hold out hope that I will be able to stick a beard on my farmer. And here's what I mean about that sort of colour that we see on the map at this time of year when these winter crops are growing through. Look at this sort of canola field. I think is that canola or is that sunflowers? I think that's canola in the earlier stage of growth. Obviously we've got some canola here that's in its final stage of growth. Quite a bit actually. You can see big tranches of yellow all the way across here. It's just so nice to see that kind of vivid colour on the map. And quite early on as well. We're still only in mid-spring, don't forget. So, let's turn here. Looks like we were holding traffic up a little bit when we kind of just stopped to stare at the canola. Never mind, it's done now. So, we'll get the seeder unfolded. But this field won't take very long at all. And then we'll head across to the other side of the road, get the other field done. That shouldn't take too long either, once we've got the boundary established. Do still need to finish off weeding on field 24. That won't take too long either. And I don't think I do have any other jobs that need to be done beyond that, so it could be a bit of an early finish for us today. We're basically kind of waiting now for the grass to grow so we can do some mowing and do some baling. We're waiting for crops to grow. Oh, we still have the spraying to do, don't we? We still have fields 53 and 54 to spray, so we do still have a couple of jobs to go after the seeding and weeding. It's not all over just yet. That'll take us through to the end of the day. You know, finishing off the jobs that we have right now, and then adding in the spraying on top. That'll take us through to the end of the day. And then tomorrow, start of a new transition as we move into late spring. So a whole new list of jobs will open up. Primarily a lot more spraying. We get more fields sprayed. You know, our corn, our sunflowers, they should all grow overnight. So actually, it's 8 degrees today. So our corn probably won't grow overnight, but our sunflowers will. I'm surprised at that. The temperature actually looks to have gone down a degree. It was 9 degrees yesterday. It's only 8 today. A little surprised by that. I forgot about the ditch. It's a bit rough. A bit rough on the old suspension there. That's why we're putting a headland in, so we don't have to do that again. Go. So yeah, like I say, a bit surprised that the temperature's gone down today. It was 9 degrees ground temperature yesterday. I was expecting it to be 10 or maybe even 11 today, and it's actually 8, so it's gone down. So our corn shouldn't start growing overnight now, as it's outside of the temperature window. It is within the planting window, so we are safe to plant it today. Obviously, just it won't start germinating overnight, which means it will end up being staggered out of sequence with the sunflowers after all. That was something we weren't sure as whether it was going to happen or not. It's pretty much, I think, a given now that it's going to happen. But that's okay. It'll stagger all of our crops. It'll give us, you know, very kind of specific windows for each crop to deal with now. So that'll be an interesting change of pace when it comes to harvesting this year. Having our harvest staggered across multiple crop types. Canola has its own window, wheat and barley has its own window, and now sunflowers are going to have their own window, and corn are going to have their own window. Sugar beets will actually be thrown in with the wheat and barley. I forgot about that. But don't forget, we can do sugar beets when it rains, so effectively they do have their own window. It's just a very large window. We can harvest it whenever we feel like, as long as it's inside the harvesting window, of course. So yeah, that's going to be an interesting change of pace, having dedicated windows for dedicated crops. That's going to be a new experience for us this year. And I did toy with the idea of maybe for our corn harvest, for our sunflower harvest, getting helianthus headers, but our combines, they're mid-sized combines. The large helianthus headers are too big, and the small helianthus headers are probably a bit too small to really justify having them. Yeah, their working width is tiny. You know, it's only just over half. I think it's what, 5.2 meters or something like that. 5 point something meters. It's not particularly big for the smaller helianthus headers. And you know, our corn headers are 9 meters. So you know, yes, we'll be able to harvest faster, but we'll also give up a significant amount of working width, so it should kind of balance it out and be close enough that it makes no real difference which header we use. The difference in harvest times would be pretty negligible, especially because we're only going to have the 2 fields. So as a result, we're not going to be using helianthus headers. It's just a bit of a shame, but it is what it is. We have the corn headers. They're multi-purpose. They can use on the corn and the sunflower. So we'll just stick with the headers that we have, rather than buying more new headers. No real point to that, I think. Plus, if the headers are too big, then we won't be able to pull anything alongside to unload, which is awkward. Or at least not while we're working anyway, because we'll end up crashing into the front of the header. Or the back of the header, as I should say. Let's swing around. There we go. This field really doesn't take very long at all with an 18-metre seeder, which is not at all surprising. I mean, it is, I think, the smallest field that we own, isn't it? Field 5? Yeah, comfortably the smallest field that we own. Field 6, I think, is the next smallest. There we go. We are planted. Actually, I wonder if I can just drive across. Yeah, let's... I've got a break in traffic. Let's just drive straight across. Save folding this up. There we go. We are going to need to do a headland on the bottom end here, again, to avoid traffic. So we don't just pull out into the middle of the street, the middle of the road, while cars are coming through. Never a good thing. Just about kept my wheels off, off that farmer's field there. That could have caused a little bit of damage. And one thing I did realise is that we planted this last time. Yeah, we planted our sugar beets with this. I remember the last time I used this, I damaged my sugar beet field in planting this, and I'm hoping I haven't done the same with this. Really hoping that this isn't going to damage, or this hasn't damaged our sugar beet field while we were planting it. It's a problem I've noticed in the past when I've used this seeder, and I completely forgot about it because it's so rare that I tend to do sugar beets. But I've found that using this seeder, it tends to damage the sugar beet bed as soon as we put it down, and it leaves tracks where the wheels go, which means that those areas can't be fertilised beyond stage 1. So we're going to have to keep an eye on our fields on 53 and 54 as we spray them, and see if we do end up with these thin light blue tracks that run up and down the field, which would indicate that we have damaged it and it can only be fertilised beyond up to a certain point. Really hope that's not going to be the case. And as I say, we do beets so infrequently that I completely forgot all about that. It's been so long since I last did beet work. So yeah, I'll keep an eye on that when we spray our fields later. And there we go. That is almost completely finished. Everything's nice and clean at that end. No missed patches, anything at all. Nice good sized slot for us to finish on there as well, look. Beautiful. So let's get folded up, get this back to the farm, break out the leaf, and start spraying off those last couple of fields. The weeding has been finished on the grass field at 24 as well, so I need to get the Optum back to the farm too. So a little bit of equipment to move around, and then, as I say, we'll get the leaf out and we'll start spraying those 2 beet fields, and then I think that might well be it for the day. So our equipment is back, washed and put away. Time for us to resume spraying duties. Now I don't think 3,000 litres is going to be enough to do 2 fields, so we'll top this up first. go. Let's make our way around the back here. There we go. And we'll shortcut through here as well. I say shortcut, we're going to have to go that way and then up and then back across again, so it probably would have been quicker and easier just to go that way, at least carry on in a straight line. There is no direct route, unfortunately, to where we want to go. Actually, this is going to be quicker this way, isn't it? So we want to tag field 53 first. I want to see if I can see signs of potential damage as well. Everything looks okay so far. The real trick, though, will be, as I say, as we start applying the fertilizer, to see whether or not we get those blue lines. You know, the change in colour. Square up. Drop that right down. There we go. So we'll run along the bottom here, so that we have our turning room away from the orchard. It's good to see that back with a load of fruit on those trees again. That's going to generate so much cash. Which is good, because our cows that are currently, you know, have been the main source of our income, on a daily basis, giving us a little bit of profit every day, certainly covering all of our expenses. They're going to start going down again as soon as we hit summer, and we start calving. The milk volume is going to start dropping all the way through summer, all the way into autumn, and then won't go back up again until winter. So, we'll go from around 30,000 that we're doing at the moment to probably around about 10,000 at the most. Let's have a look. Looks as though we're okay. Yeah, no damage. Of course, the real test will be when we do the final application to see whether or not we've reached a point where we can't put an additional layer on top of that as well. So we're still not 100% certain. But I have seen that damage before in the past, and I can't remember what caused it. I can't remember why it happened. It was a problem I had on American Midwest when I was on Houdat Ranch, and I noticed that for some reason the seeding was being damaged as I was driving over it. I noticed lines behind the wheel, so it might be that the equipment has had a patch since then, or it was something that was fixed in a game update. I mean, that's before Seasons came out, so that might have been an issue that was fixed when the game was updated for Seasons, which has been a long time. I think that's probably the last time I actually really spent any real time doing beets that I can think of. Possibly Big Bud Farm. I know I planted some beets, but I don't know if I actually harvested them. I can't remember. And I didn't use that seeder at that time either, so yeah, interesting. Something we definitely need to kind of be wary of, because I'm still not sure if that's been officially resolved, or it was just a weird thing with that map or with that seeder. Like I said, it's happened to me on two different maps. It's happened to me on Big Bud Farm, which was Mustang Valley, and on American Midwest, which was Houdat Ranch. So we'll keep an eye out for that. And be interesting to see what happens when the crop grows to the next stage, see whether or not we do have any kind of planting damage as a result of using that seeder. I hope we're going to be okay. So, we're on the final pass of this field. It's just gone 6 o'clock. And this is the last job that we have to do today. Everything else that we needed to get done is done. Beyond that, there isn't really anything that we need to do. I mean, we could possibly spend a little bit of time tidying up the cows again, but they don't need it yet. It's just something to kind of fill the time. So we'll probably get an early night. Turn in early, and tomorrow we're going to have a lot of mowing to get done, and baling, and as you can see, we do have very nice weather predicted for tomorrow as well, which is great because that's what we want when we're going to be cutting a load of grass and leaving it out on the field once it's been, well, making a lot of hay. We don't want any moisture. We can't ted if it's too damp. And if it rains, it rots everything. So we'll be hay baling tomorrow, and spraying, and that'll be about it. I think hay baling and spraying will be our main sort of jobs tomorrow. So we're going to kind of call it an episode a little bit early here, a little bit shorter than we normally do. But as I say, there's not a lot left for us to do really. Literally, it's just to finish this strip off here, and then our work for the day is done. So that's it from me. Thanks for watching. I am Jim Bob, and I'll be back with another episode of Lone Oak Farm very soon.